The signal no one answered. In the far edge of space, a small planet spun slowly in the dark. No cities, no lights, just junk. Broken ships, dead satellites, and metal scraps floated in its low orbit. This was Junk Moon 7, a place where forgotten things were sent to rot. And on this quiet, lonely moon lived a man named Cade Walker. Cade was once a soldier, a war hero. But that was long ago. Now he fixed old engines and melted scrap for credits. People in the galaxy had moved on. Cade hadn't. Every night he sat outside his small metal hut watching the stars. He had no friends, no family, just silence. But then, the silence broke. One night, while tuning an old radio scanner, a strange signal came through, static at first. Then a voice, faint, scared. "This is Princess Lyra of House Calderon. Please, if anyone can hear this, they've taken my ship. They're coming. Please, help me." Cade leaned forward. His eyes widened. He turned the dial slowly, trying to clear the signal. "They're not pirates. They're worse. The Galactic Butchers, they're real." The message looped again and again. He recorded it, played it back, then listened again. The next day, he took the recording to the local outpost on the nearby trade moon, a small station filled with traders, mercs, and old veterans like him. "This message came last night," Cade said. "Someone's in trouble. It's a royal call. House Calderon." The others listened. Some looked uneasy. One old pilot crossed himself. "Forget it," someone muttered. "If the butchers got her, she's already dead." Another added, "Could be bait. They do that now. Send fake signals. When you land, they rip your ship apart." The bartender laughed. "You think you can fight the butchers, old man?" Cade didn't answer. He left the outpost without a word. That night, he sat outside his hut again. The signal still played, faint, broken, but real. Cade remembered the war. The screams, the way the butchers moved, fast, brutal, like shadows with teeth. Everyone thought they were gone. Wiped out years ago. Maybe not. He stood up and walked to his ship, an old rusted freighter he called the Dust Dog. It hadn't flown in years. He opened the hatch. Lights flickered. Systems were offline. The fuel tanks were dry. But Cade didn't stop. He worked, all night. Fixing wires, charging the core, cleaning the cockpit glass. His hands shook from age and pain, but he didn't care. 3 days later, the Dust Dog lifted from the moon with a loud groan. Black smoke trailed behind, but it flew. Cade set the coordinates. The signal came from Sector 9Z, a dead zone. No patrols, no trade. No one dared go there. But Cade did. As his ship entered hyperspace, the stars stretched into long beams of light. He sat in the pilot's seat, staring at the small hollow image of the message. Princess Lyra's face was tired, dirty, and afraid. "I don't care if you're a trader, a pirate, or a soldier, if you can hear this and help me." He closed his eyes. "I hear you," he whispered, "and I'm coming." In the dark, far away from anyone who cared, a forgotten soldier flew into the jaws of death. Not for fame, not for money, but because no one else would. And the galaxy would soon remember the name Cade Walker. The Butcher's Zone, the stars outside. The Dust Dog grew darker. Cade had crossed the edge of mapped space. Behind him were colonies, traders, and friendly outposts. Ahead, only silence. The kind of silence that made your skin crawl. He was now inside Sector 9Z, the place marked in red on old space maps. No travel, no rescue, no return. Most people called it cursed space, but those who truly knew whispered a darker name, the Butcher's Zone. Inside the cockpit, Cade adjusted the ship's scanners. Nothing but static. No readings, no signals. Just a strange pressure, like space itself was, watching him. Suddenly an alert beeped. Something moved in the distance. Cade looked closer. 3 small ships, fast, sharp, and silent, slid into view. They had no lights, no ID, just black metal, shaped like blades. Butcher Patrol. He cut power, shut off lights, even held his breath. The ships passed by like sharks circling a sleeping fish. Cade's heart pounded. He waited. 10 seconds, 20. A full minute. They were gone. He turned systems back on and whispered to himself, just like old times, but this wasn't a war zone anymore. It was a graveyard. And he was the only living thing trespassing in it. The signal from Princess Lyra's beacon grew stronger. He followed it through an asteroid field, dodging debris and burnt wrecks. Some were military ships. Others were royal. All were torn open, like something had clawed through their armor from the outside. Then he saw it. Her ship. A once beautiful royal cruiser now half buried in the surface of a jungle-covered moon. Its wings were ripped, its engine still smoked faintly. But the beacon was active. Cade landed a few kilometers away, hiding his ship under thick trees and vines. He grabbed his old rifle, checked the power cell, strapped on a dusty chest plate. Faded military symbols still showed on it. As he stepped outside, the air felt wrong, too quiet. No wind, no birds, just the sound of broken leaves under his boots. The jungle was alive, but not in the usual way. Something watched him from the trees. He could feel it. Still he moved forward, always forward. The crash site came into view. The royal insignium, a silver crown with burning wings, was half buried under mud. He crouched and examined the scene. There were tracks, not just one person, or maybe two or three, but one set of prints went deeper into the jungle alone. She ran, he muttered. But ran from what? He didn't have to wait long for the answer. A low growl echoed through the trees. He turned slowly and saw it. A tall, twisted creature, part armor, part flesh, stepped into the clearing. Its face was hidden behind a bone-white mask. In its hand, a jagged energy blade hissed softly. A butcher scout. Cade froze. The creature didn't move. Then, without warning, it charged. He rolled left, firing his rifle. One shot, two. The beast dodged both and came closer. Cade grabbed a stun mine from his belt, slammed it into a tree, and dived as the creature passed by. Boom! A burst of blue energy threw the creature into a boulder. It twitched, then lay still. Cade didn't wait to check if it was dead. He ran. Deeper into the jungle, following the trail, through thick roots, ruined temples, and overgrown bridges. His muscles ached. His lungs burned. Then he saw movement ahead. A figure, thin, wounded, holding a knife. He raised his hands. "Don't move. I'm not here to hurt you." The figure spun and pointed the blade at him. Dirty face, torn clothes. But even through the mud and blood, her identity was clear. Princess Lyra. She didn't look like royalty anymore. She looked like a survivor. Her eyes narrowed. "Who sent you?" she asked coldly. "No one," Cade replied. "I came because no one else would." She didn't lower the blade. "I don't believe you," she said. "They use human voices now. They copy people. Trap you. If I was one of them," Cade said, "you'd already be dead." She paused. The jungle around them shifted. Distant footsteps echoed again. She finally lowered the knife, just a little. Then she said, "You shouldn't have come." Behind her in the trees, glowing red eyes lit up one by one. At least 6, maybe more. Cade stepped beside her, raising his rifle. He smiled for the first time in years. Too late for that. The princess isn't what he expected. The jungle burned behind them. The creatures with red eyes, the scouts of the Galactic Butchers, had surrounded the old ruins. Cade and the princess had fought side by side, barely escaping with their lives. Now they moved fast through the dense trees, branches whipping past their faces, smoke chasing their steps. Cade could feel it. The game had changed. He wasn't the rescuer anymore. He was part of something bigger, something worse. They finally stopped at a hidden cave behind a waterfall. Lyra led him inside. Quietly. Quickly. She knew the jungle well. Inside, A small fire flickered. Old supplies lay scattered. Empty ration packs, a cracked datapad, a broken transmitter. She'd been here for a long time. Cade sat down, breathing hard, sweat dripping from his face. Lyra stayed standing, watching the cave entrance. Knife still, in her hand. He studied her. This wasn't the soft, helpless princess he'd expected. She was thin, but strong, wounded, but alert. She didn't cry, she didn't complain. Her hands were scarred. Her eyes were sharp. "You've been alone here this whole time?" he asked. She nodded slowly. 18 days. They crashed my ship, slaughtered my guards, and hunted me through the jungle for sport. Cade stared at her. "And you survived?" She looked at him, her voice flat. "I adapted." He believed her, but something didn't feel right. There was no fear in her, no royal pride either. She was cold, focused, almost too focused. "Why send a distress signal?" Cade asked. "You didn't seem like you were waiting for rescue." She turned away, quiet for a moment, then said, "I wasn't." Cade's eyes narrowed. "Then why the signal?" She pulled a small device from her belt. Sleek, silver, glowing faintly. She held it gently, like it was alive. "Because of this," she said. "They weren't after me. They were after this." Cade leaned closer. "What is it?" She hesitated. "A prototype," she said. "An experimental AI built by my father's engineers, designed for planetary defense or planetary destruction." Cade blinked. "You're telling me you've been carrying a weapon that could end worlds?" She nodded. "They wanted it. I couldn't let them have it, so I ran, sent a signal, not for help, for distraction." Silence filled the cave. Cade stood up, stepping away. "So I'm the distraction?" he asked, voice calm but cold. She looked at him. "You weren't supposed to come, no one was." He laughed once without humor. "Well, lucky me." Suddenly the device beeped. Lyra froze. She tapped it fast, then whispered, "They're close." They tracked the signal again. Cade looked outside, the sound of leaves rustling, heavy footsteps. They were being hunted, again. He raised his rifle. "We move now." But Lyra didn't move. "I'm not running anymore," she said. "They'll keep chasing me, unless we stop them." Cade frowned. "Stop them? There's a dozen of them out there, and we're—" She interrupted him. "Not just us." She tapped the device again. A soft humming filled the air. Then a holographic map of the jungle appeared, showing old ruins, hidden tunnels, and something deeper underground. "An ancient base," she said. "My father's men built it during the war. Hidden. Buried. It still has power. And weapons." Cade raised an eyebrow. "And you know how to get in?" She nodded. "If we can turn the tables." He looked at her, something shifting inside him. She wasn't just trying to survive, she was planning a counterattack. He didn't know whether to admire her or be afraid of her. But he made a decision. "Then we go," he said. "Together." They packed fast, left the cave, moved like shadows through the dark. The jungle thickened, twisted and turned against them. The butchers were close. Cade could feel their presence. He could hear their strange, clicking language echo through the trees. Every step felt like a countdown. Finally, they reached the old ruins, massive stone doors hidden behind roots and vines. Lyra pressed her hand against a panel. The door rumbled, then opened. Cade stepped inside first. He didn't see the tripwire. Click. Lyra pulled him back just in time as a dart shot from the wall and buried itself in a tree. Cade looked at her. "You sure this is the right way?" She smiled faintly. "Welcome to the House of Traps," she said. Inside, the walls were lined with old tech, hidden weapons, and the scent of a forgotten war. They were finally off the run. But the war was just beginning. Escape through the burning sky. The ancient base rumbled as the heavy doors sealed behind them. Cade and Lyra stood in the dark. Only the hum of hidden machines filled the air. Old dust rose from the floor, glowing in their flashlight beams. This place hadn't been touched in years, maybe decades, but the power was still alive, waiting. Cade looked around. "Are you sure this thing still works?" Lyra didn't answer. She walked to the control panel, placed her palm on the scanner. The wall blinked. Then it spoke. "Princess, Lyra, command access accepted." Old lights snapped on across the ceiling. Turrets unfolded from the walls but didn't aim. They recognized her. Cade whistled softly. "Your family liked their secrets," she replied quietly. "My father planned for everything, even the end." They moved deeper inside. Metal doors slid open as they passed. Soon they entered a chamber full of gear, weapons, fuel cells, armor. Cade's eyes lit up. Finally. Real guns. He tossed his old rifle aside and picked up a fresh blaster, powered it on. It purred like a beast waking up. Lyra grabbed a data drive from a hidden vault. "This has the AI core's full code. We can't let it fall into the wrong hands." Cade turned to her. "So what's the plan now? Hide here forever?" She shook her head. "No, we fly out. To a rebel command post 3 systems away. They have enough firepower to fight the Butchers." Cade frowned. "And how do we fly through Butcher-controlled space?" She pressed another panel. A second hangar door creaked open, revealing a small, fast ship covered in dust. Sharp wings. Twin engines, hidden tech. Cade stared. "Is that a Royal Interceptor?" Lyra grinned. "Stolen, then hidden. Fast enough to outrun anything. Even them." Suddenly the base alarm screamed. "Intruders detected." Cade cursed. "They found us." Outside, the jungle trembled. Black armored beasts with red eyes climbed the cliffs. Their ships hovered, above the trees, preparing to strike. Cade grabbed extra ammo. "We've got maybe 10 minutes. Lyra ran to the ship. "I'll get it flight ready." Cade stayed behind, activating turrets, setting mines along the hall. His soldier instincts returned fast and clear. As the Butchers broke through the outer doors, Cade unleashed hell. Boom. Blasters fired, turrets spun, walls lit up with light and death. But they kept coming. Cade fought hard, but he knew he couldn't hold them all. He fell back to the hangar just as Lyra shouted, "It's ready!" They jumped in. The doors began to open, revealing a sky filled with smoke and enemy ships. Lyra launched the engines. The ship roared to life. Cade manned the back turret. Here comes the fun part. They shot out of the base like a missile, straight into fire. Enemy fighters spotted them immediately. Alarms screamed across the skies. Cade shouted, "2 on our tail." Lyra weaved through canyons, flying just above the trees. Energy blasts lit up behind them, missing by inches. He fired back. 1 enemy ship exploded in midair, but the second one followed. "We can't outrun it," Lyra said. "Then I'll slow it down," Cade replied, aiming again. But the enemy ship fired first. Their wing exploded. The interceptor spun, wildly, smoke pouring from the side. Lyra fought the controls. Cade gritted his teeth, blood on his face. They crashed through a waterfall, the ship skipping off a lake, then slamming into the jungle floor. Silence. Smoke. Cade coughed, pulling himself up. "Still alive?" Lyra nodded, dazed. "Barely. The ship was totaled, burning, but the AI core was safe. The data was safe." Cade looked around. "They'll come. Again," Lyra agreed. "And we're out of places to run." Then from the trees something moved. Not Butchers. People, humans. Dirty, armed and scarred. Cade raised his gun, but they didn't shoot. One of them stepped forward. "You're the one from the signal," she said to Lyra. Lyra blinked. "You got it?" The woman nodded. "We're not many, but we heard it and we came." Cade looked at the others. Rebels, smugglers, survivors. And for the first time he saw something else. Hope. The Butchers were powerful. But they weren't the only ones hunting anymore. Ghosts of Earth's past, the smoke from the crash still rose into the sky. But beneath the jungle's shadow, something new was growing. Not fear, not silence, but movement. People, survivors, fighters. They led Cade and Lyra through hidden trails, deep into the heart of the jungle. No lights, no machines, just old paths carved by footsteps over decades. Lyra whispered to Cade, "They heard the signal. That means others might have too." Cade nodded but said nothing. He was watching the jungle, the shapes in the trees, the faces of the rebels. Something about this place felt haunted. Finally, they stopped. Before them stood a massive stone gate, overgrown with roots. On it was a symbol both Cade and Lyra hadn't seen in years. An old earth insignia, faded and cracked. A forgotten flag. A woman stepped forward, the one who had spoken earlier. Her name was Captain Merrick, hair gray, face marked by battles. This was Earth's last colony in the system, she said. Abandoned during the First Butcher War. We survived. In the dark. In the dirt. Cade looked at her. How? We remembered what others forgot, she said. We fought. We hid. And when the war ended, no one came back for us. She pushed open the gate. Inside was a hidden base, half underground, half overgrown. Generators powered by the sun. Weapons built from scrap. Families, children, elders, people who had been forgotten by the galaxy. But they hadn't forgotten Earth. The walls inside were covered in paintings, images of Earth's sky, blue oceans, old cities, even lost heroes of the war. It was a shrine, a memory, and a promise. Cade walked slowly through the hall. His hand brushed over one painting, a soldier in battle armor, rifle raised. It looked familiar. He paused. Wait, that's... Marek came beside him. You, Cade, stared in silence. It was from a newsfeed, she said. Your stand on Nova Ridge. You held the line for 4 hours while your squad escaped. We thought you were dead. I should have been, Cade said softly. Lyra stepped up. We don't have time to remember the dead. The butchers are coming and they won't stop. Marek looked at her. And you brought the AI? Lyra nodded. Yes, it's still intact, but the interceptor is gone. Cade added. They'll keep hunting it. And us. Marek's eyes narrowed. Then she turned to her people. Get to work. We're moving to... Phase 2. Cade frowned. Phase 2? Marek looked at him. A plan we never thought we'd use. They moved into the war room, a large table lit up with holograms. It showed the local system, the butcher-controlled zones, and something else. An old Earth dreadnought, marked as destroyed, floating near a dead moon. Lyra leaned in. That ship's still there? Marek nodded. We left it to rot, but its core is still alive, and if we can upload the AI into it... She didn't need to finish, Cade said it for her. We get a warship with a mind of its own, Lyra added. Enough to start a real fight, but then someone burst into the room. We've got movement, the scout shouted. 3 butcher ships closing fast. The room snapped into motion. Cade grabbed a rifle. We fight here? Marek shook her head. No, we leave. Tonight. Everyone. We'll never get out in time, one rebel argued. Lyra looked at the map, thought fast. Unless we go underground. Marek blinked. What, underground? Cade already knew what she meant. There's a tunnel, he said. I saw it on the base scan. An old mining route, Lyra confirmed. It leads to the canyon. If we take it, we reach the old Earth port in 4 hours. Launch from there. Marek nodded. Then that's what we do. As the people packed, Cade stood outside the gate for a moment, looking up at the stars. He remembered Earth, not its cities or skies, but the silence when it fell. When the governments collapsed, when the butchers came, he had fought for that silence. Now he would fight to break it. The exodus began. Hundreds moved through the jungle under the cover of night. Quiet, careful. Cade and Lyra stayed at the rear, watching the sky. It burned with the lights of searching ships. Then came the sound, like metal tearing air. A butcher drop pod landed nearby. Cade turned. Run! Creatures poured out, armored, tall, their weapons glowing with heat. Cade fired the first shot. The rebels scattered. Screams. Blaster fire. Lyra grabbed the AI device and sprinted into the trees. One of the creatures chased her. Fast, leaping through the dark like a shadow. Cade tackled it mid-air, slamming it into a rock. His shoulder cracked, but he held the beast down, pulled his blade, and drove it through the mask. Silence. He looked up. Lyra was gone, but not lost. War begins again. Smoke drifted across the canyon. Ash fell like snow. But underneath the burning sky, a rebellion walked through the dark. Hundreds of survivors, fighters, and families had made it out of the jungle alive. They were tired, bloodied, but their eyes burned with something stronger than fear. Purpose. Cade limped beside them, his shoulder wrapped in bandages. Pain surged with every step, but he didn't care. Lyra had the AI. She'd made it through. The tunnel ahead of them. If she reached the Earthport first, she could get the upload started. But time was running out. Above them, butcher ships circled like vultures. They knew something was happening. The hunt had turned into a war. Merrick moved beside Cade. "We'll hold them off long enough to get that ship online," she said. Cade looked at her. "How many fighters do you have?" She hesitated. 73. He raised an eyebrow. "Against a butcher fleet?" Her voice didn't shake. "We only need one shot. After that, the galaxy will hear us." Cade nodded. "Then let's make it loud." Meanwhile, at the edge of the canyon, Lyra reached the ancient Earthport, a metal platform half buried in cliffs, covered in rust and vines. In its center lay the dreadnought. It was massive, silent, sleeping. Once, it had been a flagship. Now it looked like a corpse waiting for breath. Lyra placed the AI core into the central console. The interface blinked. "Core detected, preparing neural sync." The machine hummed. Lights sparked. Lyra stepped back. The air around her shimmered. And from the console, a voice spoke. "Designation confirmed, Omega Protocol. Status, awakened." Then the ship began to move. Engines that had been dead for decades flickered with fire. Turrets rose. Armor plates shifted. A deep mechanical growl echoed through the canyon. The dreadnought was waking up. Back in the jungle path, Merrick's rebels had formed a wall of defense. Cade stood at the front, holding his rifle. The others behind him barely had armor. Their weapons were old, scratched, and mixed. Earth tech, alien scrap, even handmade blades. He looked at them. "They think we're weak," Cade said, raising his voice. "They think we're alone. They think humanity forgot how to fight." He looked to the sky. "Let's remind them." Then the jungle exploded. Butcher troops charged, fast, armored, merciless. The rebels fired, screams rose, trees caught, fire. The earth shook. Cade moved like he was back in the war, shooting, ducking, striking. Every enemy he dropped gave the rebels one more breath of time, but they were still losing ground. Suddenly, the sky above turned orange. The dreadnought had risen. Lyra's voice came through every comm channel. "We're online. Give us one more minute." Cade gritted his teeth. 1 minute. He grabbed a grenade launcher and blew a hole through a wave of enemies. Merrick was wounded, still firing from behind a shield wall. Young rebels pulled the injured back. No one ran. They all stood, because the sky had changed. And then, it happened. A beam of light tore down from the clouds, thick, golden, and burning with the full power of the dreadnought's orbital cannon. It hit the jungle floor like a hammer from the gods. Butcher ships exploded. Enemy troops vanished in fire. The ground shook. Silence followed. Cade looked up, eyes wide. She did it. Lyra's voice came back, calm but cold. This ship is now ours. The AI is synced. Targeting complete. Phase 2 begins now. The dreadnought hovered above them, its engines humming like a storm. On its side, for the first time in 30 years, the Earth symbol glowed again. Humanity was back, and it wasn't running anymore. The survivors cheered. Tears fell. Some dropped to their knees. Cade just looked to the horizon, because he knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning. A beacon was sent from the dreadnought, not a distress call this time, but a war cry. To every rebel, every hidden base, every forgotten soul in the galaxy. This is Cade Walker. Earth lives. The butchers will fall. Rise with us. From dark corners of space, eyes opened. From old bunkers, weapons were loaded. From silence came rage. And across the stars, the whisper became a roar. The war had begun again. One man, one war. The galaxy burned with signals. Every comm channel, every outlaw frequency, every dark corner of space now echoed with the same message. Earth lives. Rise with us. It spread like fire. Rebels awakened. Forgotten soldiers came out of hiding. Even old enemies paused, listening, watching, and the butchers responded. With rage, a massive fleet, black as night, moved through the stars toward the Earth dreadnought. Dozens of warships, thousands of troops. They were coming to end it. This time, for good. Inside the dreadnought, Cade stood at the central window, staring at the approaching fleet. He didn't flinch. Lyra joined him. Her face was bruised, her eyes sharp. They're throwing everything at us, she said. Good, Cade replied. Means they're scared. The AI core spoke, its voice calm and machine deep. Enemy fleet will reach firing range in 20 minutes. Cade turned. How many weapons do we have online? 70%, enough to hold, not enough to win. Silence. Lyra said, We need more time. Other systems are responding. If we can hold them off long enough, Cade interrupted. They'll crush us before help arrives. He paused, looked at her, then spoke slowly. I have another plan. Lyra didn't like the look in his eyes. What kind of plan? 10 minutes later, Cade was in full armor. Black and silver relic tech from the Earth Wars. Scars covered the plating. So did honor. He stood in the launch bay beside an old stealth pod, small, fast, nearly invisible to scanners. Lyra blocked his path. You're going alone? She asked. Yes. That's suicide. Maybe. She stared at him, fire in her voice. You can't win this war by dying in the first wave. Cade stepped closer. I'm not here to win the war, he said. I'm here to start it. Lyra's eyes softened. She looked at the man. Not the soldier, not the legend, but the human behind the scars. You don't have to do this. He smiled faintly. I already did. Years ago. And then he stepped into the pod. The doors closed. The launch counted down. Cade's pod shot into the stars. Silent as a ghost. The butcher fleet loomed ahead, like a wall of death waiting to crush everything behind him. He moved toward their flagship, a monstrous beast of steel and bone, pulsing with alien energy. The heart of the enemy. Inside, he landed in the lower Dexon alone, one man in the lion's mouth. He planted charges, sabotaged engines, hacked into the core, fought through guards, fast, brutal, efficient. Every hallway became a memory of war. Every breath was a countdown, but they caught him. He stood in the heart of the ship, surrounded by butcher warlords, tall, monstrous, armored in flesh and machine. The leader stepped forward, the warlord prime, human, last of your kind. Cade wiped blood from his mouth. Not the last, he said. He raised the detonator. The warlord laughed. You would die for your broken people? Cade looked him in the eye. I would die so they never break again. And he pressed the button. Silence. Then, Anne, Explosion ripped through the flagship, not just a bomb, a chain reaction. Power cores melted. Engines blew. The flagship tore itself apart from the inside, splitting open like a dying star. From the dreadnought, Lyra watched the explosion bloom in space. No signal, no words, just light. She whispered, "Goodbye, Cade." But the war didn't end there. Across the galaxy, his story traveled faster than the flames. People rose up. Bases rebelled. Ships defected. Earth's symbol became a call sign again, and in every battle, every firestorm, every last stand, they whispered his name, Cade Walker, the man who didn't run, the soldier who didn't wait for orders, the human who reminded the galaxy what it meant to fight back. Months later, on a quiet moon in free space, a message was received. It was audio only, static, broken, but the voice was clear. "This is Cade. If you're hearing this, then the fight's not over, not yet. I'm still out here. And I'm not alone. The end."